What's happening, y'all? I know y'all can't see me that well because I'm in, I got the light behind me. It's been a minute. I know it's been a minute, but I went to Tampa for the Falcons Bucks game. I should have streamed it, but I didn't. Went with the fam. Yeah, coulda, shoulda, woulda. It is what it is. But yeah, went there. That's why I went a few days without streaming, and then um, the last couple of days I've had a lot of interviews. Um, and it's been so many interviews, job interviews that I can't really. Anyway, it's hard to like stream during the because I was just in interviews all day really. But today I'm actually waiting on a call from a the founder of this company called the Entrepreneur Source, and he wants to talk to me about entrepreneurship. I don't know if he's trying to sell me something. He probably is, or if he is genuinely trying to see how he can help me become a full time entrepreneur. So um, like I said, it's probably the first option, but we'll see though. We're gonna see. Um, he's gonna call any minute now. He's supposed to be calling at 10 a.m. So it's 10 a.m. Um, and yeah, his business proposition or value proposition is that he helps entrepreneurs find their way in entrepreneurship. So we're gonna see what he's talking about. Um, and yeah, other than that, one interview today, a little bit later today. But I'm gonna catch up with y'all today, man. Get back on track, man. With what we got going on. I was about to say he a minute late, man. He calling me now, so let's see what he talking about, man. Miles Hannah.
Hello, Miles. This is Jeff Baker with the Entrepreneur Source. How are you today?
I'm doing good, Jeff. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I had on my calendar we were scheduled to speak at this time. Is this still a good time for you?
Yep. Yeah, it's still a good time.
Okay. Yeah, well, great. I know we sort of briefly met on LinkedIn. I do thank you for agreeing to learn more. Um, and I'm going to go into a little more detail with you about what it is I do, what the Entrepreneur Source is about, and make a note of any questions that come to mind while I'm talking, and we'll take some time to address those. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, well, very good. I'm going to start off by dispelling something. I'm not a recruiter. You may have already figured that out by now.
Yeah.
I'm not here to help you find your next job. There's certainly plenty of qualified people out there that do that. However, the title that I do use for what I do is career ownership or career transition coach. I work with people who are currently taking another look at their existing career and who are open to exploring additional career options, even if it's in addition to an existing job or a job search. If you've got that going on, we can pretty much work in tandem.
Okay.
Also, a word that I'll be using a lot in our conversation today is the word possibilities, because I do like to think that I'm in the possibility business. And as your coach, my first commitment would be with you. As, of course, if you decide you'd like to work with me. And in that case, I would be your advocate. And we would be conducting what I call an exploration. And my role there is to work with you and do an assessment of your background, your skills, your particular interests, and anything else that might fall in line with that. And then find possibilities for you that might be a good fit. Now, the possibilities that we would be exploring would potentially fall in line with what I like to refer to as your why. I would say that the majority of the workforce out there has this why. I break it down into three terms. It would be your goals, your needs, and your expectations. So, as part of this exploration we'd be identifying what those are, how they relate to you and your career, and maybe even beyond that. So are you currently, question for you, are you currently in the Atlanta metro area, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Do you live right inside Atlanta or do you live right outside or outside?
So I'm right outside Atlanta. I'm in northwest Atlanta.
Okay. All right. Did you grow up there?
I did. I did.
Cool.
Yeah,
A
born and
native.
raised.
Good. All right.
Yes,
Always,
sir.
always, always interesting to meet long-term natives of whatever geographic area that that they live in.
Yep.
Okay. Well, a little background for you on the Entrepreneur Source itself as a company. We are a 40-plus-year-old network of over 200 coaches nationwide. I think we've even got one or two in Canada now. And we also have relationships with businesses in 30 to 40 different industries. All right, a couple of other questions for you. Are you currently employed? Is it Trending Neurons? Your enterprise account executive?
Yes. So I mean, that's essentially one of my friends, his company, his startup. So I had been essentially working with him, but technically on paper, I'm not employed by Trinity Neurons.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have you enterprise account executives, strategic partnerships, and AI, SaaS, and fintech. Is that right?
That's correct. That is correct in terms of
So are you doing that more on a contractual basis?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I'm just going to update my notes here. So in other words, you're not necessarily working there every day, but is it sort of on an as needed basis?
Correct.
Okay. Well, the industry sounds pretty cutting edge.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about what you do.
Yeah. So basically, I work in B2B sales, B2B fintech sales to be exact. Trend Neurons is is a fintech platform that helps traders understand what, why, and when to trade.
Okay.
Leveraging AI and data centralization.
This is basically a stock trading platform. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and we, basically, I, meet with and have been creating partnerships with, companies like NinjaTrader, TradingView, places like that. Those are our target clients, so to speak. So my job has been to reach out to them, start the conversation, and ultimately get them in the sales pipeline and try to close them as a partner.
Okay, well, cool. And this is mostly B2B. You're not working with any kind of B2C situation.
Right, no B2C. It's strictly B2B.
Okay, all right, well, very good. So then a follow-up question for you is, are you thinking of making a change or maybe an augmentation to your existing career? What might be happening there?
Yeah, for sure. So right now I am, of course, because this is more ad hoc with what I'm doing now.
Right.
I've been actively searching for a new role, in essentially the same space, you know, and yeah, I mean that's basically kind of what I've been doing now is just actively searching for a new role in the same industry.
Same industry. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me talk a little bit about more about what I do. See if this is something that might be of interest to you.
Okay.
And I do thank you for the additional background information.
Yeah, no
so
problem.
more specifically, as part of the coaching that I provide, my goal really is to help you take a closer look at those possibilities that are available to you. Really provide you with a safe environment to explore them.
Okay.
Also, a couple of other things I'd be bringing to the table as part of this coaching / exploration is one, I'd be a source of guidance. So helping you to navigate through all of this. Coupled with that, I'd also be a source of support. So, getting back to what I mentioned about being your advocate. Think of me as the person.
Yeah, he's trying to sell you something.
Now, I should also mention is that there's no cost to you to conduct this exploration. Now, when I say that to folks, I think many of them are surprised to hear that. And when I say no cost, I certainly don't mean no value. I do work with a number of clients that get a tremendous amount of value out of this service. However, in lieu of a cost, there still are a few things I do ask of you. The first thing, which is really the most important thing, is this will involve a small investment of your time. That's just how the system that we use works. And I would say also coupled with that is what I would call an accountability component. Now, when I say that, you can breathe a sigh of relief because it has absolutely nothing to do with you being accountable to me. I don't think either of us would be interested in that, frankly.
Yeah.
But it's really going to be more about what I mentioned earlier about identifying that why of yours, those goals and needs and expectations.
Right.
It's really going to be more about you being accountable to yourself. So that's really how that piece works. And then the other two things I asked, maybe a little more abstract, but one I asked that you keep an open mind. And secondly, is that you commit to being coachable during this time as well. All right, so with that, I'm going to drill down and get to the nuts and bolts of what it is I do, and then we'll pause to see if you've got any questions or need me to talk about anything in a little more detail.
Okay.
All right.
That sounds good.
All right, good. As our name, the Entrepreneur Source, implies, the space that we pretty much occupy is entrepreneurship / business ownership. Now, I like to divide that up into three categories. The first category, which is probably the largest category, and in many respects, the all-encompassing category, is in the area of franchising. We like the franchise model. We like the support structure that it provides, as well as guidelines and guardrails that are really in place to help you to be successful. You might be familiar with the expression with this kind of business model is that you're a business for yourself, but not by yourself. Okay, so that's the first category. The second category, which is very similar to that first category, but maybe for business model or even legal reasons, they fall separate. That's what I refer to as business opportunities.
You broke up for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so the second category, very similar to the first one, but maybe for business model or legal reasons, they fall into a separate group, and those are referred to as business opportunities. Did you catch all that?
I did.
Okay, good. All right, and then the last category is going to be more resales, where there's already an existing business in operation, and for whatever reason, maybe the owner's retiring or moving out of the area or some such, and the decision's been made to put the business on the market. So we work with those as well. So those are the three major categories that we pretty much occupy. There's more information to share, but as I mentioned, I'm going to just go ahead and pause everything just to see if you've got any questions or need me to talk about anything in more detail. Very happy to do that.
Sure. So franchising, business opportunities, and resale.
Yes.
So I'm familiar with, of course, franchising. I understand what you mean by resale. Could you kind of elaborate a little bit on the business opportunities?
Yes, just so you know, so the businesses we work with are pretty much what I would call under that franchising umbrella. So that would cover all three categories. However, business opportunities are kind of distinct in the sense that they fall outside the strict definition of a franchise, in the sense that maybe there's and for different reasons. But sometimes it might be a situation where there's no royalties involved, or and in another situation I'm thinking of, there's no you don't have to use the brand name for your business. In other words, you can use your own name. You're still kind of under that, again, you're under that umbrella, the parent company, but you can use your own name for the business. So that's just some, again, those are businesses kind of fall outside that strict definition of a franchise. Is that helpful at all?
It is. That makes sense. Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
Well, no, I'll say them towards the end.
Okay. All right. Let me talk a little bit about how I would divide up our time. Again, if you think this might be worth your time. So how I divide up our time really is into two different parts. The first part is will comprise the first 2 or 3 meetings, including this one, where it's going to be all about gathering information. So I'm going to be asking you questions, getting to know you more professionally. I do like to keep that conversation 2 ways, so making sure that we get your questions answered as we go along. It would be my hope that this would be an educational experience for you. And not only that, but just so you know, and this is important to me, I would want this to be an enjoyable experience as well. I want you to have some degree of fun with this. There also would be some coaching tools, is what I refer to. Basically just questionnaires I'd be sending your way to complete. There would not be many of them, nor are they lengthy, but they're going to help me greatly in gathering that information that I'm looking for. And once I have all the information that I need, we make a transition. And the transition is from gathering information to what I call discovery. That's where things get a little more interesting, because what will happen is after some research that I will be doing, you and I will be meeting, and I'll be presenting you with some business possibilities to explore. Now, usually the first step in that is I'd be putting you in front of folks I would call subject matter experts, or SMEs, if you're familiar with the term.
Yep.
They might be a business developer. Maybe they'll be a VP or a CEO in some instances. They're going to be your point person, your representative, kind of the face of the particular brand that we're exploring. They're going to want to start a conversation with you. And depending on how far you get in that conversation, they will also be introducing you to some other subject matter experts, but they'll be in the form of business owners, franchisees, if you will. Now, they'll be coming a little more from a boots on the ground perspective. They'll be able to give you a peek under the hood, so to speak, in the sense of what it's like being an owner for that particular business brand. Again, you're in a safe environment. You're not going to be under any pressure, but you will, in those cases that I just mentioned, you'll get a pretty well-rounded picture of each of the businesses we're exploring. In most or all cases. Now, as for me, I will still be more or less hovering in the background, but you and I would still be having regular check-in meetings. These meetings would not be long, but we're basically just going to meet and talk about what you've learned, some of the things about each of the businesses that you've talked about, what your takeaways are, your likes and dislikes, your pros and cons, whatever else that might fit into that, and discuss it, as we move forward. So again, and just so you know, also I think it's important for you to know this too, is I'm detached from the outcome. I'm not here to try to steer you in any one particular direction. This is about you. It's not about me. So I want any decisions that are made along the way would be yours and yours alone. I will provide that guidance and support, as I mentioned. But really, this is, as I mentioned, it's really about you. Have I sparked any other questions while I've been talking here?
Yes, for sure.
Okay. All right.
So, what, where do I start? What is something, or why? I guess first question is, what's in it for you, Jeff? So I know you mentioned.
That's a good question. I was kind of waiting for that.
Yeah.
So, what's in it for me? How do I get compensated? And I'm not doing this for my health, believe me.
Right.
So I get compensated by the business community that I work in. That's the short answer. I think the longer answer, and I'll go ahead and provide that too. It's very similar to how a realtor or maybe even a recruiter would get compensated. But really, I think the best analogy, the best example would be a travel agent. If you've ever worked with a travel agent, they usually don't charge their clients for their services, at least not any of the ones I've worked with. They get paid by the travel industry. So the hotels, the airlines, the rent cars, etc. That's who takes care of the travel agent. So it's very, very similar to how it works for me.
I see. Okay.
So, yeah. Sort of like a finder's fee, I guess you'd call it.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
So yeah, like you said, the recruiter and travel agent example makes sense.
Travel agent's probably the best example.
Right. Okay. And then well, I mean that's one question I had right now. I don't have.
Okay. Does this sound like something you would get some benefit from at all?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. It definitely interests me. So.
Okay.
All
right.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll just kind of keep the conversation going and asking you a couple of questions, and then I'll talk about where we could potentially go from here if it would interest you.
Okay.
A question for you is, based on what you've told me so far, does it sound like you're necessarily in a transitional position in your career? Because you mentioned to me that you're interested in a similar role to what you're doing, but more on a full-time, non-contractual basis. Is that sort of what I was hearing?
Correct. So, so basically, kind of where I am right now, just to provide more context, I am, of course, like I mentioned, looking for a new role in basically the same industry, but my ultimate goal has and always has been entrepreneurship. So,
all right.
Yeah, I have.
So do you have that? As I asked, do you have that entrepreneurial gene?
Exactly. Yeah, that's definitely in me. It always has been. So like I am, constantly, like tirelessly trying to find ways to, start my own business. So right now, basically my goal is, okay, I'm trying to get this new role, and then my goal from there was going to be to figure out how I can kind of invest in a business while I'm working in that role.
Okay, well,
So
that sounds like I may have come along at the right time.
yeah, I think
Okay.
I think so for sure.
Okay. All right. So I would say again, you're at a pivot in your career. I would say that for sure.
Yeah.
So whatever that pivot looks like for you, maybe it is maybe more in a less ad hoc situation.
Yep.
But it also at some point down the road, or maybe sooner than later, it may end up in an entrepreneurial situation for you. So the question is kind of a basic one, but it is what would you hope to achieve when you make that pivot? Now, when I ask that, maybe there's some things, and we're talking personally as well as professionally. Some things in you maybe you were already achieving, i.e., income, or being able to spend time with family and friends, things like that. Those might be givens. But maybe there's some things in your career you've never achieved, or maybe some things you achieved at one time in your career, and for whatever reason it just stopped, and you want to start achieving those too. What might some of those things be?
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I guess one of the most important things is to replace my primary income, replace the income from my 9 to 5 job. That's kind of been my North Star, so to speak, and something that I have been trying to attain for a little while now. I feel like once I'm able to do that, of course, I'll be able to quit, my 9 to 5 job. So that's my biggest thing. I feel like once I'm able to do that, it'll allow me to free up my time, as you mentioned, to spend time with family, friends, travel more, and things like that. Which a lot of those things you can't do. I think you already know this, but you can't really do those things the way you want to do them when you're working a 9 to 5. So
yeah, working for the man, as we like to say.
Yeah, exactly. You can't do those things when you're working for the man. You gotta, you gotta, you gotta have your own business, and it has to, of course, replace that 9 to 5 income. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, very good. Professionally speaking, what do you consider to be your biggest strengths that you bring to the table?
Yeah. So I think that's a good question. So biggest strengths. And I actually was just talking to another guy about this, to a recruiter about this the other day. My mindset is one. I'm extremely, persistent and consistent, and with whatever it is I'm doing.
Okay.
I think that is, certainly one of my strengths. And then I would say what other? I mean, yeah, I come. So my background is, I come from a more technical background. So I think that is also a strength that I have, because I'm able to communicate well with software
engineers. Did you go
engineers.
to school for the technical knowledge, or just kind of learn on the job?
No, I went to school for it. Yeah, so my background, that's my degree is in computer.
FinTech and SaaS and all that.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. So FinTech, do you have to be like a finance major? I'm just curious. I've never really known for sure.
Yeah, so it's typically, I mean, it depends on what you're doing. So my background is computer science. I hated it though. I only
really?
Yeah, I only pursued it to basically make my parents happy. That type of thing. It's one of those deals where it's just like, what's gonna make mom and dad happy, and I just felt like that was a career path that would make them happy. So, but that's where I started my career. So, because I have, kind of done that earlier in my career, I think that gives me an advantage, even in sales today, because I'm able to communicate, pretty well with the software developers and product managers. So
yeah, okay, without being the kind of the techno geek yourself. Then, right?
Exactly. I've essentially transitioned away from that to, more in the sales role, but I am able to, have those conversations.
Okay. All right. What do you enjoy most about what you do right now?
I think making an impact on the business, the bottom line of the business. So working in sales, and that's the thing. So when I started my career, in software engineering, like I said, I hated it, and then transition from that to product. So in product management, I was essentially managing the software developers, like the work they were doing, and so I was a little bit closer to the business side of things, but I still didn't really feel like I was making a huge impact on the business, right?
Yeah.
Like the revenue of the business. So I wanted to transition. That's what led me to transition to sales, because I wanted to have that larger impact on the business. And so that's what excites me about what I do now is I'm directly impacting the success of the overall business.
Okay, very good. Anything else that you enjoy? Well, again,
Uh,
personally as well as professionally.
oh man, I'm huge. I'm a huge sports guy. Huge
Okay.
sports guy. I like to play, watch sports. So big into, uh, certainly watching football. So love to watch football. So big in, my team is the Falcons. We're terrible.
Okay.
We're terrible this year, but that's my team. Has been for a long time. Um, you know, really enjoy traveling. Haven't been able to do it as much the last few years because of you know, um, a lot of career change and even like I mentioned before, right, working in these roles, not having as much PTO and things like that.
Yeah.
But that is something I really enjoy doing, is traveling. So I want to do more of that, and then and
You
then
mentioned time with your family and friends.
yeah, and then time with my family and friends for sure. That's something that I can't really you know overstate that enough. I think it's something that I really want to do more of. Um, and I feel like and again, you already know this, but the only way to really do that is having your own business. Um, so yeah, and then so to that point, like the other thing I'm just really passionate about in general is entrepreneurship. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I can't get enough of it. Like I said before, I'm constantly uh, my career is still fairly. I'm like kind of getting to mid career, but still somewhat early in my career. So I spend a lot of my free time. I watch into Shark Tank and constantly searching. Searching online on new businesses and things, just different opportunities out there. Um, so like that's literally what I do in my free time. So
Yeah, Shark Tank's a great show. I don't watch
yeah,
it probably nearly as often as I should, but you certainly learn a lot.
yeah, I've learned a ton. I've learned a
And
ton.
I think it does keep those entrepreneurial juices kind of flowing too when you watch it.
Yeah,
I can do that.
yeah, exactly. I actually auditioned for Shark Tank before.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. I did. I didn't. Of course, didn't make it on the show. They
It
have
was
like,
probably a great experience, though, right?
yeah, yeah. It was a really good experience. Understand how they think, what they're looking for. I realized that they aren't necessarily looking for always the best product. They're looking for someone who can, has the best story. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
times, that makes a difference
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
entertainment value.
Right.
On the show, a lot of times they're looking for entertainment value, which makes
Yeah.
sense.
The storytellers, I think that are the ones that probably do the best on that show.
Yeah, yeah, because you've seen it. People get on there and they start crying and talking about their story and what they had to go through to get to where they are. So that definitely helps out. I guess the ratings of the show. So a lot of times they're looking for that.
Right. Yeah, there's a
Um,
lot of things to consider.
yeah.
What do you dislike the most about what you do? What are things you don't enjoy so much?
Um, I think just overall bureaucracy. So just like the um, how political things can get sometimes with
Mm-hmm.
uh, a lot of times like that can stall deals, keep them from moving forward. And so that's something that I don't really enjoy about what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, so compliance, can a lot of times stall deals, prevent them from moving forward, or procurement, not being on the same page with the other companies, um, procurement team, just stuff like that can be a little annoying. I don't like for deals to stall. I like them to continue moving forward. Um, so I mean that's just one thing to kind of nitpick, I guess. So,
okay.
yeah.
All right. So bureaucracy, politics, compliance, or I guess those would be like regulatory things, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Procurement, the procurement teams. So those would be the you're trying to sell, and you're talking to the purchasing people, right?
exactly. Yep.
And they're giving you a hard time. They're
Yeah.
they're playing hard to get, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. They're we're doing a lot of they're trying to negotiate and get a basically cheaper deal, right? They're
Right.
trying to get us to lower the price and
Right.
things like that. So,
And then stall deals, which probably would be related to that.
right, related to that, or a lot of times compliance too.
Okay.
So yeah,
All right. I'm trying to be mindful of our time. I know the way that my You Can Book Me is set up, it only books hour meetings, but I try to
yeah.
keep these, especially these first meetings, to around 30 minutes if I can.
Okay.
But before I talk about, if it makes sense, we can schedule follow-up meetings and continue our conversation. But I wanted to ask if you had any additional questions before I kind of go there.
Yeah. So, another question I have is, so I understand, kind of the relationship you have with with the franchises and things like that. But like, how I don't even know how to. I'm trying to figure out how to ask the question.
Take your time.
Yeah. How do they decide on who they want to work with? When I say they, I'm
That's
talking about the.
that's a great question, and I don't
Yeah.
get asked that question very often.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is kind of part of the system, part of what you're going to be doing. In other words, you're going to be learning. Now, initially, there are going to be some things they're going to be concerned about in terms of your candidacy for business.
Right.
But that's all part of the exploration from their standpoint too. In other words, we call it validation, and that's all part of the process. So it's sort of like just a regular set of procedures in a sense. In other words, one of the things they're going to be doing is, I said, they want to start a conversation with you, and they're going to want to see if you are a good fit for them as a business.
Right.
And it could be, at some point, if they really do think you're a good fit, of course, that will be determined after probably numerous conversations. But there is
Right.
something called awarding a franchise. In other words, what they do is they will award you with a franchise, which is basically an opportunity for you to join their team as a franchisee. Now, it's kind of an offer that's extended to you. In other words, it's not like being an employee, but they say, hey, we'd love to have you as part of our team as a franchisee. We'd like to award you this franchise. There are certainly a lot of other preliminary steps before you get there, but that's usually what kind of the end goal from their standpoint is going to be. Of course, then it's up to you to determine if you really want to go with them.
Right.
You're going to be learning stuff along the way too.
Right.
Now, usually the businesses we'd be exploring, we'd be doing maybe 2 or 3 at a time. So you're not overwhelmed with meetings and calls and whatever else they have you doing. But I think that it's a good question. But it's all part of the procedure that you'll be doing in terms of just exploring each of these businesses. So it is a two-way conversation. So
Yeah.
and of course, from your standpoint, you're going to be kind of checking them out too to see what kind of if this is something that's a right fit for you. Now, there's an acronym we use here at the Entrepreneur Source. We call it ILWE, and it's ILWE. It stands for Income, Lifestyle, Wealth, and Equity. So,
Okay.
And we say those are really the things that you have, that your needs essentially, part of your goals, needs, and expectations. Is you want to make sure that your ILWE goals are being met, and this is your way of kind of as you gather information, you're gonna determine if what the possibilities are for that.
Right. Right.
It might not be necessarily about the business itself, but it might be about the lifestyle component or some of the other things, equity components that the business offers. And, things like also, if you want more travel and leisure time, if the business might be able to provide that, maybe from a flexible schedule or maybe because the business is semi-absentee or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's another way you can kind of look at things. In other words, there are kind of three ways you can divide your time with each business. Of course, there's the full time, which is probably the majority of the business models, but there's a number of businesses that also offer something maybe part-time, semi-absentee, where you can kind of still stay in your career and but have the business on the side. And then the business is really more viewed as an investment, and you're
Right.
definitely able to kind of double down on whatever other career stuff you got going on. So
Okay.
just so you know.
Okay. So I had another. So a couple other questions.
Uh-huh.
The so obvious. So of course, I kind of just went over and communicated my situation, what I'm doing right now. Looking for this new role. Like, how do I say the what type of criteria are these businesses going to look for in a franchisee like myself? Because
Well, I think.
I've done research before on like
Mhm.
becoming a owning a franchise, and a lot of times it's you have to have this amount of money in the bank, right? Like in your savings, you have to have this amount of income. You need to have experience being a franchise owner before, which of course I don't have that experience. So, like that's just based on the research I've done in the past.
Yeah,
So, is that
I
still
would.
apply here?
So I think, yeah. Let me kind of spill all of that out for you.
Okay.
Um, in terms of previous experience, most of the businesses we work with do not require previous experience in the industry. In some cases, it's a nice to have, but it's not a requirement.
Okay.
I.e., like maybe you've done sales. Sales is a big part of any business, really.
Right.
You may or may not be doing that directly yourself as a business owner, but there probably are a number, maybe a majority of businesses that would involve some sort of sales effort on the business owner's part. Now, in some cases,
Okay.
maybe you can hire somebody to do that. There's certainly a lot of businesses that offer that, where it's more of a manage the manager kind of a situation. And that gets back to what I mentioned about being semi-absentee or passive. A lot of those would be kind of governed by that kind of a scenario, with you hiring somebody to basically be your business ops person. Um,
Right.
and then in terms of investment, and I haven't really talked about that much, and I probably should have or should.
Mm.
Um, so of course, if you decide you wanted to move forward with any of the businesses that I present to you at any point, but yes, there would be an investment required
Right.
from your standpoint. Now, the size of that investment is really going to depend on the business and what the requirements are in the business. And you'll have plenty of opportunity to talk to them about that. Um, the bulk of that conversation, where it comes to the investment, you're not going to be having with me. We'll talk about it a little bit, but not, when it comes down to the brass tacks, as we call it. That conversation is going to be more with the franchisor and not with myself.
Okay.
Where else was I going with that one? Now the size of the investment is going to really depend on the business and what the requirements they've laid out are. And there's not really a one size fits all answer to what the investment range would be. But you'll have a chance to explore that. I will also, in fact, I can do that now. I can send you an email that has a link. Actually, no, because we just started using a portal. So
Okay.
I'm making a transition. We're using a portal. So all of the resources that I'm providing will be done through the portal. And again, I'm getting used to, I have to kind of change some of the things I talk about because we're doing it a little differently now.
Okay.
But that information will be available to you via the portal. There's also funding partners that we work with who you may or may not, if you decide to move forward, you might want to work with them. You're under no obligation to, but in lieu of that, or in light of that, they still can be a handy source of information if you want to talk to them about anything related to funding for a business. They could range anything from a SBA loan, or maybe something I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term ROBS, which is an acronym for Rollover for Business Startups, which is essentially where you're
I'm
rolling
not.
over maybe a 401k or an IRA into your business, and that's providing your needed capital, where you're not going to be making monthly payments on a loan at that point. So
Okay.
you'll be able to talk to them about that, and they can go more into detail. They might even also want to pre-qualify you just to see what your situation is.
Okay.
But it's all part of the exploration, just so you know.
Okay. Um, all right. So that's all part of the exploration. Um, and then I guess my another question I have for you is, I know we talked about franchises specifically, but what are there any businesses that you all work with that I would be familiar with, like,
Like like brand recognition.
Yeah, like
There might
Chick-fil-A
be.
or
We don't work with Chick-fil-A. We don't work with McDonald's. So some of the
okay,
big boys, they do their own franchising. They don't work with coaches or brokers or anything.
okay,
There might be some brand recognition, but I'm going to say probably not. It really depends on how. I would say that the brand recognition might come from the more along the lines of a person who's like an industry insider. One example there would be if you know anything about the restoration industry. We do work with like Paul Davis and things like that. Are you familiar with that name?
I'm not.
Okay. We used to work with Meineke. I'm sure you know about Meineke. They're the automobile folks.
Yeah, I've heard Meineke. Yep.
Yeah, we used to work with them, but their territories are pretty saturated. So I think that's the reason they kind of dropped out of our portfolio. We also
Okay.
used to work with Mako. Um, the auto body painting franchise.
Okay.
But they've sort of. I think their territories are full, or I'm not too sure what happens behind the scenes, but we don't work with them now. Sometimes people leave and then they come back, but it really is really more up to the franchisor. But I'm going to say for the most part, you probably have not heard of most of these businesses.
Okay. All right.
All right, let me talk a little bit. Again, if you think it makes sense to schedule a follow-up meeting, can you continue our conversation? That next meeting, first of all, I would prefer we do it on do a Zoom call if you could. I don't make it a requirement, but for me, it's a lot easier to do things like screen share and
Yeah, for sure.
illustrate some things. And when we have some of the questionnaire discussions, there are times I'll be needing to share my screen and things.
Okay.
So we'll be talking about 2 questionnaires that I will make available to you at the portal, and I'll go in a little bit more detail with you about the portal in a second. The first questionnaire, it's a very short one. We call it the U2.0. It'll take you probably 5 minutes, give or take, to complete it. It revolves around one big question. And the question is, if we looked at your life 1 year from today, what has to happen for you both personally as well as professionally for you to be happy with your progress? But then I say, don't answer that question right away, because down below, there are 3 sections that contain some yes or no questions. Those sections are labeled dangers, opportunities, and strengths. So you want to look at those first, because answer the ones that apply. Yes or no. She's basically just going to flick a switch. But use those questions as maybe some brain food to answer that bigger question at the top. And again, it's sort of that first step, as I mentioned earlier, in identifying that why of yours, those goals, needs, and expectations. So it's very important. We will discuss it in our next meeting.
Okay.
The next questionnaire is something you may have had some experience with in the past. We refer to it as the assessment, but on the street it's known as the DISC profile. Have you ever taken that before?
I have not.
Okay. It's very similar to, if you've ever taken anything like the Myers-Briggs, where they're not measuring the same things, but the way the questions are worded, you don't want to take a lot of time thinking about your answer. You really go with your gut. That's really the way to do it. It'll probably take you 15 or 20 minutes to complete, so it's not terribly long. All told, the total time it's going to be under 30 minutes for both of these questionnaires.
Okay.
So and we'll be talking about that. It generates a rather lengthy report, and in the interest of time, we're not going to have a chance to go through everything in the report on our call, but we will cover a couple of sections very briefly, and then I will send you a copy of that report after that next meeting.
Okay.
All right. So with that, and I know we're coming into the holidays now.
Right.
I have some availability on Monday.
Yeah. So Monday, Tuesday works better for me.
Okay.
Tuesday.
I have Tuesday at 11 a.m. your time available. Would that work for you?
That works for me.
Okay. So, by the way, it's going to be 10.
Okay.
But about 6 years ago, I moved out to Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. So I'm in Central Time now.
Okay, so it's about almost 10 a.m.
It's 9:45
right now.
9:45 right now.
Yeah, hour behind. Yeah, I actually, so I lived in, I was in Dallas for a couple of years, and I moved.
Okay, so that's only about a 4-hour drive from here.
Yep. So yeah, I'm familiar with being on the Central Time Zone for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, very good. So I will send you a calendar invite. Make sure I'm sending it to the correct email address. So it's miles.hannah26@gmail. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. All right. And then stay tuned for an email. So that email is going to be the link to the portal. And again, that's where all things, homework assignment related is going to be available to you. There's also other information on the portal too.
Okay.
And so you're going to be getting an email from me. It has a link to the portal. It'll also ask you to use the password that they provide. But I think right away they're going to have you change that password. So just so you know.
Okay.
But I think it's pretty straightforward. If you have any questions, you can reply to the email and we'll try to get it squared away.
Okay.
All right. So with that, and last call for any additional questions.
Yeah. So one more question. So what, from your vantage point, Jeff, what does the typical timeline look like for, kind of establishing?
Yeah, I would say on average, maybe anywhere from 1 to 3 months.
Okay.
Now I've had clients that have gone for a year or more in some cases, and there's different reasons for that. Sometimes they pause and then they come back. Sometimes it's just a matter of we try to do as close to a right fit as we can, but sometimes that goes sideways, and so we're still having conversations and just working all that out. But I would say on average, 1 to 3 months is I would say fairly typical.
Okay, no, that's good. That's really good. I thought it was going to be a little longer than that. That's better.
Yeah, getting back to what I mentioned about this being sort of, there would be an investment of time. Early on, it's just going to be you and I talking. But at some point when we get to the discovery phase, you're going to be talking to other people. So that will affect your schedule. You have control over that to some degree in terms of, keeping your schedule normalized for any particular point of, sequence of days. In other words, you don't want to schedule meetings with all three of the businesses you're exploring in the same day necessarily.
Yeah, not a good idea.
It could be overwhelming.
Yeah.
So just so you know, but we will level up at some point in terms of time commitment. It's not going to be a huge burden.
Okay. No, that sounds good.
All right. So I will look forward to talking to you on Zoom next Tuesday, December 23rd, Christmas Eve.
Yep.
At 11 a.m.
All right. Sounds good, Jeff.
Right,
looking forward to it.
It's been a pleasure talking to you, and have a great weekend.
Same. All right. You do the same. All right. Talk soon.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Cool, man. That's where we at. So, interesting. Interesting. I think the biggest thing I wanted to know from him was what's in it for him, right? So obviously we asked him that question, and he's like, he gets paid a finder's fee. So it's similar to like a recruiter. I've been working with recruiters for a little minute now, and that's how they get paid when they find a candidate who ends up accepting a offer, a job offer, whatever. That's when the recruiter gets paid from that company. You know what I mean? So he's doing the same business model for him, right? So he's getting paid from the franchise owner, right? The franchise when he finds a new franchisee. Um, so that makes a lot of sense. Um, because I was like, why is this guy choosing my profile? I guess that would have been the only other thing I wanted to ask him was, what about my profile caused you to reach out to me? You know what I mean? So, but yeah, again, that was the most important thing I need to know. Like, bro, like, what's in it for you? Why are you helping me become a franchisee? You know what I mean? Become an entrepreneur. So, no, that was good. That was I think a good conversation. Um, I didn't think it was gonna be a waste of my time, but I was hoping it would not be a waste of my time, and it wasn't. Um, so yeah, man, it was cool. It's cool. I'm definitely interested. My schedule is crazy right now. Um, as it is, I go to. So I don't even think I really, what I'm saying, told y'all about everything I got going on. But I mean, I have, but I haven't. So, bro, like 4 days out of the week, I am. I go to a networking event in the evenings. During the day, right now at least, during the day, I am applying for jobs and going on a bunch of interviews. Like I feel like that's what that's what I should be doing, right? So I'm that my days are full doing that, and then I have to find time to work out, right, during the week and stuff. So I do that 2 3 times a week, and I like to work out during the day, like midday. So yeah, I'm working out and I'm interviewing, applying for jobs during the week, during the day, during the week. And then in the evenings, 4 days out of the week in the evening time, I'm going to this networking event. You know what I mean? If you've been following along, y'all been following along, y'all know what I'm talking about. I say the networking events. So I've been doing that 4 days a week in the evening time. And in the morning time, um, this will change when I get a job or whatever. But as it stands right now, the morning time is I have a little bit, a downtime, so I was able to meet with him. Um, like I'm not working a traditional job or whatever. It's not like I have something I have to be doing in the mornings. So if I'm not on a job interview, like if I don't have a job interview in the morning or something like that meeting I just had with him, then my mornings are kind of open or whatever. But and then Sundays, that's the one day I take to just chill. I just watch football all day, literally. You know what I mean? So that's what I do on Sunday. So that doesn't really, no work is done on Sundays. And then Saturday I go see, my girl. So you know what I mean? Um, and during the day Saturday I have another like networking event. So you know what I'm saying? I don't really have just a ton of time. Like it's not like I'm on some work a 9 to 5 shit. Like and that's it. Like I just work my 9 to 5, and I come home and eat dinner, watch TV, wake up in the morning, do it all over again. Like, and again, what I just explained, that doesn't include, the work I do with my website agency. That doesn't include what I know with the sports agency. Um, you know, uh, yeah, it doesn't include those things. You know what I mean? So, um, which I didn't even get into that, those things with Jeff, right? Um, but yeah, man, but this is interesting. Just kind of, this what he's talking about doing. This is something I've actually been really, really, really interested in, man. Working with a business that is, uh, or becoming a franchisee, right? You become a franchisee, I'm becoming a franchisee of a business that's already established, bro. The business model already works. The business is making money, right? And if it's not making money, then I'm not going to become a franchisee of it, right? So, um, you know what I mean? Like, believe me, like, trust. We're going to do our own research, due diligence on, become before I become a franchisee of any of these companies that Jeff is talking about. But my point, right? I think you get the point. The point is like the business is established, right? Like it's not like I'm creating a new business, right? So many businesses fail when you try to because you're trying to create a new business or you're trying to create a new market for whatever it is you're trying to sell. But if a business is a they have franchisees, it's a franchise, right? That business has already proven that they have customers, they are making money, right? Whether they're profitable or not, I don't, whatever, I don't know. But the business is making money, and again, we'll do the due diligence to make sure that the business is profitable before I become a franchisee. But basically, right, the point is, if I become a franchisee of whatever company, I'm gonna be making money, right? Like that's you know what I'm saying. Like it's not. I'm not having to start a whole new business from scratch. I become a franchisee. I'm making money. In theory, I should easily replace my. I don't say easily, but I should be able to replace my 9 to 5 income when I become a franchisee of whatever business, right? That's what I told him my goal is. My goal is to replace my 9 to 5 income with whatever, you know, if I become a franchisee, whatever business, that income should replace my 9 to 5 income. And if it can't, then that's not the right franchise for me. That's not the right franchise for me. Period. Right? I want to start a business that is, I mean, whatever. Not start a business, but I want to become a franchisee of a business that is making money, that's profitable, and that is going to allow me to make enough money to replace my 9 to 5 income. When I'm able to do that, and this is the thing, that's why, bro, like I've matured so much in the last few years. A few years ago, I was trying to become, create this multi-billion-dollar business and all this shit, which is, all that's good and great, man. But at the end of the day, right, I realized that I, I was trying to be the next Elon Musk or whatever the fuck. Like, it's not about that, right? What I realize is that I'm not trying to be Elon Musk, right? He's him, right? He's Elon Musk. I'm Miles Hanna, right? I'm not trying to be him, right? But a couple of years ago, I was, right? Like I was trying to be like the next, whatever. Again, building the next multi-billion-dollar business. But what I realized is that I don't really want to do that. That's not my goal. My goal is time freedom, right? My goal is having freedom of my time, having the time to do the things I want to do, the things I enjoy doing, having location freedom, being able to work or be wherever I want to be whenever. If I want to be in another country, okay, on a beach, at 1 p.m. on a Tuesday, then that's what if I want to be in, on what's it called Copa Blanca, what was it? Or I forget what it's called in Brazil, right? I went there before, but if I want to be on a beach in Rio de Janeiro, at 1 p.m. on a Tuesday, literally just chilling, then that's where I want to be, right? So that's location freedom. So I want the time freedom to do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it, right? And not have to worry about, oh, I don't have enough PTO, I don't have enough, you know, I'm working on whatever project at work, and I don't have time. They're not gonna approve my PTO, and nah, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna do whatever, whenever, right? I want to have the location freedom to be wherever, whenever, right? And then I want to be making enough money to where I don't have to work for the man, like he said, right? I don't have to work for the man. My income is based on being a franchisee. So, and that is more of a, you know, like I'm a business owner at that point, right? So my um uh so my income is based on being an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? I'm not having to trade my time for money. When you work in a 9 to 5, you have to trade your time for money, right? As a franchisee, that's not really the case. Like you own your bit, you own your franchise. Um, and it's a mature business. It's a business that is gonna make money. Like, you know what I mean? Um, the market is established and all that stuff. So that's why I want to that's why I'm excited and interested in what he's talking about because um, I feel like that's probably the best path for me, right? We've tried to create all these new businesses. I think I'm confident I can do that, but it hasn't happened yet. You know what I'm saying? I have there's nobody that has more confidence in Miles Hanna than Miles Hanna himself, right? But things have just not gone my way. It's just as simple as that. Whatever business I have tried to create has not gone the way I envisioned it going. So my thing is, instead of me trying to create another new business, the best shot I have at becoming an entrepreneur, at least here at the get go, initially is probably going to be becoming a franchisee, becoming a franchise owner, and then leveraging my income from that franchise to create a new business from there, or buy a business or whatever. So this is interesting, man. I mean, I'm really interested in this. If the franchisee, if this model is making enough money for me, if I'm making enough money doing this, then if I'm making enough money doing this, I should be able to invest in another business from there, right? That's how I can become an entrepreneur. Like, my goal is going to be something like become a franchisee, right? You're making enough money with being a franchisee. Now let me go, you know what I mean? Let me go buy another business, right? Let me go buy some other small business. I've been making money as a franchisee. I got money saved up now. I'm in a position to go buy another business instead of trying to create a new business. Right now, I've put myself in a position. I'm making enough money to buy the second business instead of creating the second business. And then that's how then I just become an entrepreneur that way, right? I don't know what his and when I say buy a business, I know I keep saying that and I keep acting like it's like easy to do or whatever, bro. Like, and that's because if you have the money, it is. Okay, people are selling like I've showed y'all it before, but Flippa.com, bro. People are selling businesses for a few $100,000. Businesses that are making, you know, 5, 10, 20, 30K a month profit, and up, right? But, it's a lot of businesses on there. For a few $100,000, you can buy a business that is making $10,000 a month in profit, take home. It's not a huge business, but it's going to basically replace whatever the income from whatever job I would get. So imagine if I'm a franchisee, right? I'm a franchise owner, and then on top of that, I buy a business that's making 10K a month in profit, like an online e-commerce store or something like that, right? And then from there, I can just hire somebody overseas for $500 a month to run the online business. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, man, I gotta use the restroom. I'll be back though. But yeah, that's crazy, man. That my man's just reached out to me on LinkedIn. He just I don't know. He found me on LinkedIn and just reached out. So it's cool, man. Um, yeah, man. Today, rest of today. Uh, just gotta do some follow up on some things. This stream today gonna be a little bit shorter because I gotta. There's a lot of little things I have to do. Um, like I said, man, I gotta stop playing, man, and start streaming with when I'm on the move. I do that when I'm on. Anyway, I do that when I'm streaming on through Twitch, but I don't always do it when I'm streaming on YouTube. Yeah, man. Um, I go to the doctor yesterday. Been having some things going on, man. They're gonna do an ultrasound. I gotta schedule an ultrasound and all this stuff, man. To um, make sure I'm good. So y'all pray for me. It's gonna be, you know what I mean. It's anyway. You know what I'm saying. Prayers up. Pray for me. Pray for me. Um, but yeah, the rest of today, with the website agency, I'm gonna follow up with Gerald right now. Let him know that he can go change. He can go look at the. He can go check the design for his site. Make sure we're good to go. If we are, then I'll let him know that we're moving forward with development. So that's kind of where we are with the website agency. Nothing else really going on there. Um, Sports agency, I definitely have been dragging my feet. We're getting back to, bro. It's not good. I know I went on my little mini vacation to Tampa, but what I have to do with the sports agency doesn't take any time, and I've been putting it off. So it's really it's on me. Um, no excuse for it at all. Like I guess I've been overthinking it. And it's not no I guess that's just the facts. Been overthinking it and like trying to like yeah. Anyway, been overthinking it. Period. So I need to follow up with Ricky on that. Get him these Instagram profiles of these players we want to try to work with. Um, for an NIL deal. Um, Other than that, man, we just still applying, we interviewing. We just got 3 or 4 emails yesterday. All rejection emails. Companies. At least one of those companies I thought I was gonna get an offer from. But all 4 of them rejected me. So we ain't moving forward with those companies, man. So right now it's just rejection letter after rejection letter. Um, keep, all we can do is keep applying and all that stuff. Also, need to reach out to, a friend of mine who may have the inside track on the job that I'm looking at. I need to reach out to them and see if they can help me out, help me get through the door at the company they work at. So that has to happen today. That can't be put off tomorrow. Like I said, reaching out to Gerald, that'll happen today. And then reaching out to Ricky, that should happen today as well. However, I gotta go somewhere right now. And because I'm streaming on desktop, I'm probably just gonna have to. I'll check in with y'all tomorrow. But like I said, you already know what's going on, what I got to do the rest of the day. And the last thing I do have the first little phone screen interview with this company called Sanity. They're not offering. I've already kind of checked whatever compensation they're going to offer, and it's not going to cut it. They're basically offering anywhere from like 110 to 125 base, right, and then double that for the on target earnings, or whatever, 100 to 125K. That's where I was at my old role. I mean, I'm not trying to be there. Y'all already know, man. I'm basically trying to double that up. Base salary. We're trying to double that up, and then double that up. For my on target earnings. I'm looking for on target earnings around 400K. Right, $200,000 base. Double it for on target earnings. Right, that's what I'm looking for right now, and I'm looking for that. I'm looking to get that type of offer from 2 companies. I want to be making $400,000 base for my 9 to 5. If you're making that type of, and again, it'll be from 2 companies, right? $200,000 from each company for taxes and shit. Like, I think that should be more than enough money. You know what I mean? To buy a franchise, right? So you see what I'm saying? So Jeff's reaching out to me. He's trying to get me through the door with whatever franchise. If I'm making $25,000, if I'm making $25K a month, like, I probably don't need Jeff to help me find a franchise. That's my point, right? Like, you making that type of money, in theory, you should just be able to, you can reach out and I should be able to basically go through the process myself, right? Because again, if I'm making $25K a month, I should be saving quite a bit of money every month. If I handle my income properly, right, I should be able to get a loan if necessary, right? Like, basically, I feel like just about any lender would be happy to loan me probably even 100K or a couple 100K when I'm making 25K a month, right? They figure, okay, I can afford to pay the loan back, right? So it should, making that type of money. My whole point is making that type of money a month will open doors for me, right? To be able to, if I want to pursue becoming a franchisee, I can do that. If I want to pursue buying an online business, I can do that. You see what I'm saying? That would probably be the first route, to be honest. Probably. I don't know. It would either be a franchisee route or just buying a business straight up, on like Flippa.com. But even 25K a month, I don't know if that's quite. I would probably need a loan, right? I'm not gonna have. It still would take me a long time to save up, whatever. It'd take me a long time to save up $200,000-300,000 or whatever it would cost me to, buy a business on Flippa. But that's where it would come in, where I wish I just had a rich friend. Like, I need some rich friends. You know what I'm saying? The reason I say that is because if I'm like, again, my the route I really want to take, and I've been wanting to do this for a long time, but never been able to do it, is to find a um, like I said, buying a business on Flipper, right? This would be an e-commerce business where I could hire somebody overseas to run the entire business because it'll be fully online, right? Hire somebody overseas for $500 a month to run the business. Meanwhile, the business is making, I don't know, $10,000 a month profit. You know, so I'm netting $9,500 a month, and in order to buy that business, it's probably gonna cost me $300,000, right? If I had somebody that could split that cost with me, right, that could cover, 125,000, 150,000, we can make something shake. But I don't really have anybody who, I don't know anybody that has that type of money, right? So yeah, man. Um, and I might know somebody. I mean, I know a few people out there that have that type of money, but they have to have the same vision. They're not gonna drop that type of cash on anything if they don't share the same vision I have, right? My vision is passive income, just like I told Jeff, or I told him, finding an income to replace my 9 to 5. If I buy a business that's making, 10K a month profit, there you go, right? Now, if I have the two 9 to 5s I'm looking to get, then it replaces basically one of my incomes, right? But still, right? The point still stands, right? Like you go buy a business like that and it replaces one income. That's a big deal, man. That's a big deal. So anyway, a lot of talking, not enough work being done. So I'm about to dip out and go do what I gotta do. Like I said, I'll hit up Gerald now. Um, I'll hit up, the other people I gotta hit up a little bit later. Um, tomorrow, what's tomorrow? Friday. Tomorrow we'll be focused on. Actually, I don't know. Tomorrow we might not do any. I don't know. We'll see. Um, definitely not gonna. I was about to say not doing. We're definitely gonna do this. All every day is something. But we'll see. But matter of fact, let me show. Instead of me talking about it, let me show y'all what I'm talking about. We can. This is my ultimate goal right here. Right. So watch this. Hold on, let me already have it pulled up before I start sharing my screen. This is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to live a certain lifestyle, bro. And it costs to be the boss. Clearly. So check this out. And I like to, do this to get my point across. I feel like maybe I'm not getting my point across. Right? And I think I've told y'all before, maybe. But this is Flippa.com, right? Flippa.com is a marketplace for people to buy and sell businesses. Period. Right? I typed, I'm searching for an e-commerce store. Right? That's this search, right? Right here. Revenue generating, yeah, and then you can filter it down here, right? So revenue generating. Let's take the nose out. So it should be yes. I'll say managed by Flippa. Hold on. Managed by Flippa. That means that I'm pretty sure I've done the research before. Basically, that means they are. Flippa is. They've done the due diligence on the business themselves, right? In other words, right, they know the business makes the type of money that they say they make, so on and so forth. Okay. So we don't want apps and YouTube channels, and we don't want all that. Not for this. We want something that's pretty straightforward, right? We want Amazon stores too. We want some type of online business, e-commerce store, or an Amazon store. Okay, that's it. We want I don't care about revenue. I don't care about page views. I don't care about users. I care about profit. I want at least $10,000 monthly profit, right? I want the price range to be between 150,000. Because they're not showing. Okay, 150,000 and 300,000. And I want the age to be, it needs to be at least a couple of years old. Because they, at that point, they've shown that they have demand for whatever it is they sell, right? If they've been in business for a couple of years, they've kind of proven the business model, right? So now let's look what we got. Look at all these businesses that meet that criteria, right? We got this e-commerce business, um, been in business for 10 years. It makes almost $12,000 a month in profit, right? This business has been in another e-commerce business 10 years, makes over $18,000 a month in profit. E-commerce business, drop shipping, right? They've been in business for 5 years, almost $11,000 in profit. They want 180,000, right? The first two businesses that we saw, like again with the 12,000 and the 18,000, they only want $230,000 for the business, right? Here's another one, right? Okay, they got $10,000 in profit, but they want 282. That's a little high, okay, for only $10,000 in profit a month. Okay, then you got, this business here. They making it's another e-commerce business. They making $13,500 in profit a month, right? And they only want 252,000, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? I can keep going, bro. Like, here's one that's making almost $20,000 in profit a month, and they only want $200,000, right? Drop shipping business, like, you know what I'm saying? That like, you know what I'm saying? Okay, $20,000 a month. Now again, before I would buy the business, I would do my own due diligence. There are companies out there that I can use to do my own due diligence on the company, right? You can pay them literally a couple $1,000s, and they'll do due diligence on this company to make sure they're not lying about all this stuff. Okay, Flippa has done their own due diligence. That's why it says managed by Flippa. I would do my own due diligence, and I would hire another company, a separate, like a third party company, to do their due diligence on the company to make sure all this stuff is accurate. Okay, mainly how much money they say they're making a month, right? So think about it. So say all this checks out, right? And they're making almost $20,000 in profit a month, and they're only asking for $200,000. Bro, quick math: $20,000 a month, okay, is $240,000 a year. So that means in 10 months, I would make my money back. So that's what we're talking about, man. Find somebody that has $100,000. I split it. I split this cost with them because I don't. 200,000 is just a little too up there. Okay. So find somebody that has 100,000, even if they have 50, 75, whatever. I clear the rest. Okay. I cover the rest, and then we buy this business, and we split. Say I take 10 or 11K, and they take the other, you know, nine, uh, 9 to 10K, right? We basically split it half and half. If they cover 100,000, and then basically each of us would be making about $10,000 a month in profit from this business. And again, it's an e-commerce business, drop shipping. All we got to do is hire somebody. We would just hire somebody overseas to run the business. Better yet, maybe even create some type of AI agent or whatever to run the business. Since that's the thing to do now. So that's what I'm talking about here, bro. Like if I can get my money right, getting these two jobs, I'm making what I'm trying to be making. again, that should open doors for me. I'm talking loan or whatever, okay? That should open that door for me, okay? That should open that door for me. And then think about it, bro. If I continue to build relationships, another thing I could do, if I continue to build relationships with, and I've been a little sleep on this recently, but I know a couple of VCs, venture capitalists, continue to get to know them, befriend them basically, and they got like $200,000 to them is nothing. Okay, it's nothing to them. It's not nothing, but you get my point. Like they got it. Okay, so would I not be smart to start, like continue building that relationship with those VCs, getting to know them better and whatnot, so that I'm just gonna say 6 months from now, when I'm ready to buy, if I, if I'm in a position where I have, half of this, right? I have $100,000 or something like that, and I need another $100,000, and I don't have anybody, I don't know anybody, I don't know anybody personally, right? Like any friends or whatever that have $100,000 that want to go in with me. What would I do? I call up the VC, tell them what I'm trying to do, right? I've befriended them, right? We're good, we're friends, and I tell them what I'm trying to do and how they would benefit. It's not because again, they wouldn't just be lending me money. They're not like investing in, you know, um, they're not investing like in my business, right? They see immediate value and praying that I'm going to be successful. This is even better than that, right? So it's like the part where you say what's in it for the VC? Why would they do that? Why would they, you know, invest $100,000 into something like this? Because if we do the due diligence, it already checks out. They know they're going to be making $10,000 a month in profit. You see what I'm saying? It's a safe investment. This is about as I can't talk today. This is about as safe as it gets, right? And then that's the other thing. I would have that the VC, they would do their own due diligence. We'd have Flipper, we'd have myself, we'd have the company I hire, and we'd have the VC, okay, doing their due diligence on this company and making sure all this stuff checks out. And then if it checks out, the VC would say, yeah, Miles, let's do it. And they would do it for two reasons. One, because they see the business value, like they see how they would benefit, right? They take on half of this. And then they would also want to do it because we're friends at this point. They know me well. They want to, like, you see what I'm saying? So they have multiple reasons why it makes complete sense for them. It should be a no-brainer, is my point. I want something that's gonna be a no-brainer to the VC. So we have to stop playing with that. It's extremely important, right? Building those relationships with the VCs. That's how I'm gonna go from where I am now to, like, I know deep down that like that's what's gonna allow me to take off, right? I do not know anybody that's gonna want to invest $100,000, right? Essentially go in half and half with me on buying this business. I know a couple people that have this type of money. They're not going to do it, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? I have to almost move with that mindset. Like, I have to assume that they're just not going to do it. And I want to go to somebody who I know has that type of money, and they won't hesitate to do it. If so long as objectively everything checks out, they won't hesitate. Because $100,000 ain't really a lot of money to them. So, um, so yeah, man, like that to me, like that's what I'm trying to do here. That's what we got going on. So I gotta stop playing with that. What am I talking about? It's important, man, that I get ahead of reaching out to VCs for this, right? People do business with people, right? They do business with people they trust. If I today, right, I start going to different networking events, specifically where I'm networking with VCs, not just networking just to be networking. I'm talking about VCs specifically. I start going to different events, meeting them, getting to know them, so on and so forth. And say, we stay in touch, we whatever. You do stuff that rich people do, right? You go have dinner and lunch and stuff like that with these VCs and get to know them and vice versa. They might just lend me the 200,000 just because they like me. You know what I'm saying? This is not no money to them. You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? So I'm trying to have that foresight to be like, let me make sure that I am from here on out, basically all of 2026. I don't want to be in a position where I have to reach out to a VC that I don't really know that well and try to talk through this with them, like try to convince them to go in half and half with me on buying this business. I don't want to do that. I want to get ahead of that. Right? And again, if that relationship is already established, it's nothing to them to drop 200, half 100,000, 200,000, much less 100,000 on buying this business right here, right? But again, as it stands, I don't have, none of my friends or affiliates really have this type of money, okay? Except for the VCs I know, and we're not friends yet. My whole point is basically I need to become friends with them, okay? And I need to do it in a very like strategic way. Like can't ask them for anything right now, right? We just need to go to breakfast and lunch. And yeah, man, that's what we are. That's what we are. So best believe, man, that's what we're gonna be doing a lot of in in 2026. It's holiday time, so I'm not doing too much, man, to be honest. But 2026, we did some networking. This year, 2025, we met some new people, some people that I can see myself doing business with. Some of them I've already started doing business with, right? Just on a small scale, but nonetheless, you know what I'm saying. We formed some business relationships and things like that. But in 2026, I'm trying to take it to another level, right? We need to be doing business with the people that got the real money, right? The real wealth. We need to get in good with them, and you know, and it's not, and it's genuine, bro. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just doing what anybody who has a brain would do, right? I want to win. That's all I'm setting out to do. I want to win. I don't care about, you know what I'm saying? I don't care about all the bullshit. I want to win, right? And in order to win, you have to go about doing things. You got to be strategic with how you move, okay? And this is me doing that, okay? Right? Follow the money. You know what I'm saying? Like that old expression, follow the money. You want to make money, follow the money. Right? Follow the money. So anyway, man, we done enough talking today. I will be back tomorrow. Again, man, I already told y'all what I got going on the rest of the day. And then tomorrow, I don't think I have any interviews tomorrow. It probably would just be a straight up just working day. When I say working, applying for jobs and doing resume stuff, continuing to optimize my resume, things like that. So again, tomorrow will be a longer stream. I don't like that this stream is kind of short, but like I said, I gotta go somewhere. I'll catch up with y'all tomorrow, man.